GM Zinger Nation. My name is Logan Ross, and this is Moon or Bust, your home for all things altcoins and DeFi. We've got a great show for you today, so make sure you stick around. If you're here for crypto content, make sure you check out the Benzinga Crypto YouTube channel. Top link in the description below. And while you're down there, don't forget to smash the like button. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Logan. That is a sweet hat. Where can I get one? Is there a discount code maybe?
Oh, really? Yeah, no, there actually is. Funny you mention it. So if you join the Mooner Bus Telegram, get interacting with the community, we'll drop you a 25% off discount code to swag.benzinga.com, where you can buy the ETH hat, the Bitcoin hat. I mean, we got it all on there. We even have a Floki hat. Isn't that wild?
Crazy times we live in.
I know, right? All right. We have an interview with Icon today, back on Moon or Bust. So let's just get right into it. I'd like to welcome TJ. How you doing today?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Super excited to be on.
Yeah,
Happy
thanks
to
for
have
coming.
you here. So, if you could tell us a little bit about your background in crypto, that'd be awesome.
I actually started in crypto probably a similar time with most people. So that was around early 2017, and I think I was a senior in high school, and I think I was looking at traditional investments on Reddit, and someone had posted about cryptocurrency being the future, talked a bit about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole, as you would say. After that, started learning about crypto, and kind of got hooked in terms of being an investor, both for the investment side as well as just kind of interested in the tech. And so most of my, or until up until about last year, I was mostly on the investor side. So that's kind of how I came across Icon as well. Had been following Icon, and more in terms of being like involved in crypto happened during the pandemic. So I think my summer internship had been canceled due to COVID-19, and I was looking for some stuff to do and came back across Icon, and actually had I would consider him like a mentor, but a man in the community named Geodude, so like the Pokemon, kind of helped me get started in terms of like smart contract programming. So Icon's smart contracts previously were coded in Python, which isn't a super hard language to learn. So he kind of mentored me on how to build smart contracts, and that was kind of how I started to initially be involved in the ecosystem, and worked on a couple of things with him and his team, and that's kind of how I got introduced to Scott. So you guys talked to Scott Smiley, I think,
Mhm.
before, but he has a traditional finance background, and that was what I was studying in college. I was studying finance, and so I kind of just reached out to him, asked him for some career advice, asked him how things on Icon were going, and obviously with the spring, crypto started to pick up a lot, and the Icon team needs some help. And so once I graduated college, which was I think this May, I started full time at Icon. So it's only been about 4 months now, but like focusing on a lot of things already, and there's not really a training manual for it, but
Mhm.
I love it. It's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you guys haven't seen the interview with Scott Smiley, make sure you go check it out. We talk all things Icon. But for those who missed it, TJ, could you just give us a little overview of what Icon is? Maybe talk about blockchain interoperability a little bit, and then maybe dive into what you've been working on.
Yeah, so I think kind of reiterating what you guys would see if you watch the interview with Scott, but Icon at its core is focused on interoperability. So we have it's called BTP, blockchain transmission protocol technology, and essentially it's blockchain agnostic, trustless, decentralized bridging solution for us to connect with different blockchains. So like current partners are Polkadot and Kusama paired chains, Binance Smart Chain, Near, and Harmony. And obviously, we're always working towards more connections, but that's kind of the main focus is uh, bridging together public blockchains. And then something unique about Icon as well is to go along with kind of like the interoperability play. We do have an application layer as well. So we have DeFi ecosystem. We're getting the NFT ecosystem started. And then just in general, we just launched a version 2 of our mainnet. So essentially just a faster blockchain engine and introducing the ability for us to do certain different changes to our tokenomics and whatnot. So it's a super exciting time. A lot of developments going on in Icon right now.
That's great. We'll dive into the 2.0 upgrade soon here. But if we can maybe talk about, someone doesn't know why blockchain interoperability exists. Could you maybe give us an overview of what it is and why it's so important?
Yeah, so in general, I think there's a lot of layer one blockchains that are becoming, I would say, like popular in terms of like having a lot of community members, a lot of capital within their blockchains. But in a way, it's kind of like a closed ecosystem. So if you're on that specific blockchain, you can only use that specific, like those specific tokens, the specific DeFi protocols and whatnot. So what's super important with interoperability in general is to allow for one, just other opportunities for investors and more utilization of different native tokens. So that could be just like for yield farming opportunities, arbitrage, stuff like that. But at the same time, it also will allow for different kind of protocols to emerge. So like I think in the future we'll see a lot of things like cross-chain yield aggregators, cross-chain DEX aggregators, basically a way for people to get like the best price on their asset or the best yields on whatever token they're looking to farm. So obviously, the more blockchains that are connected, the easier it is to aggregate this information, the more opportunities there will be. And then just in general, like it's almost like a way to combine communities as well. I think it's a good way to get away from like maximalism. So rather than only focusing on your blockchain, you're able to experience different DeFi protocols, different NFT communities and whatnot. So I think Icon's really taken the stance of being collaborative rather than competitive. So we want like all of our partners to be successful as well, because that benefits our community.
That's really cool. And I know I've wanted to invest in some tokens, say like on Solana, because I've seen these cool projects, but most of my funds are on Ethereum and it's so hard to transfer over. Sometimes I just won't do it. But my next question is actually about Icon's token. So how does Icon's token play a role in the Icon ecosystem?
Yeah, so it's pretty similar to most native tokens. ICX is used to pay for like transaction fees. And that was kind of like the initial utility of it, as well as you can stake. Icon is a DPoS network, so you can stake your ICX. And if you delegate your votes to one of our validators, you're able to receive staking rewards. Off the top of my head, I want to say like 9% per year right now. So that was kind of like the two initial utilities of ICX, but obviously with DeFi coming out, there's more opportunities to gain yield on ICX, as well as I believe from like a higher level, ICX can be able to be used in purchasing the fees generated by BTP. So essentially BTP fees will be auctioned off at like a slight discount to ICX holders, and then ICX holders can go to a decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange and take advantage of the arbitrage opportunities there. So obviously the Icon team is always looking for new ways to bring utility to the token and benefit our community.
That's awesome. If you could talk a little bit about how Icon is validated, that would be great.
Yeah, so in terms of being like a DPoS network, we have, I think Scott actually explained this earlier about why we call them P-reps, but essentially public representatives. And that's our name for the validators on the Icon network. But if you're an ICX staker, you have to delegate your votes. It's like a one-to-one delegation with how much ICX you own. And you delegate these votes to different P-reps for basically whatever reason you want, whether you think that they're going to be a reliable node, you think they're doing good work in the community and whatnot. It's really up to you. And this delegation power is kind of what gives these block producers their rewards. So obviously, the more that's delegated towards them, the more rewards they'll receive. And this is something actually that the internal team, as well as we're trying to get some conversations going in the community as well, is there's always room for improvement. There's always trade-offs when it comes to DPoS. I think block times, like finality, is usually faster, but at the same time, there are trade-offs. Like it can be political at times in terms of P-reps looking for votes and whatnot. So we're looking for ways to align incentives for everyone involved, and that just like we have like a team dedicated to talking about these things weekly.
Very cool. And how do institutional partners like Samsung play a role in Icon? Are they just passive investors or do they do something else?
Yeah, so I would say I'm not like super familiar with um, exactly what's happening on kind of like the private blockchain side of things. So that kind of goes back to what Icon was initially focused on, was the enterprise adoption of
Right.
interoperability, and like we have our technology partners, Icon Loop, who provide us with like the core blockchain infrastructure, and some of their devs are working on the public blockchain as well. But um, that side of things is almost like an entirely separate company, I would say, that they're the ones kind of managing the relationship with Samsung and whatnot. And then
Okay.
kind of me, like what where Scott and I are involved is more on like the public side. So like the traditional layer one in terms of working on like interoperability and DeFi and whatnot.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue into my next question about the public side of Icon. How does Icon benefit entrepreneurs looking to create decentralized products on your network?
Yeah, I think it, in general, so like right now with our new mainnet upgrade, we have Java contracts now. So it'll be interesting to see. Java is obviously a popular programming language, so it'll be interesting to see if we get some like Web 2 developers to come over uh, to Web 3 on Icon and start kind of exploring the space. But I actually think that this question is probably like a good segue into the CPS as well, which is kind of the main product that I manage. So the CPS stands for Contribution Proposal System, and like from a very high level, it's just like a decentralized grant system. So um, quick background on that, I would say, is that Icon, as most like layer one blockchains have, they have foundations that give centralized grants to people looking to build on their network or for marketing purposes and whatnot. And kind of in the sake of both decentralization as well as kind of sustainability of the network. Um, the CPS was launched about 6 months ago now, and the entire goal is to kind of put these decisions in the hands of the community. So right now, the CPS is funded through node rewards from the Icon Foundation validator PREP, and those rewards are put into the CPS treasury, and then anyone external or internal in the community can create a proposal to receive these funds. And then like the unique thing about this is, so those funds are held in a smart contract, and then the people actually making the decision on whether the funds should be released are the PREPs, so the validators. I think there's about 20 of them right now, and so once a proposal comes through, they'll all vote whether to accept or reject. And if I think it's majority, like 2/3 majority on both delegation power as well as just like quantity of um, PREPs. If that's reached, then funding will be released, usually on a milestone basis too. But um, yeah, I think it's super unique. I don't really know if there's many blockchains that are doing decentralized funding right now, and if there are, there's like not a whole lot of them. So I kind of see it as a way for it to become like a decentralized growth engine for Icon. So as more funds come into this, uh, the CPS, the more funding can be used for marketing and like the application layer and whatnot. And these are all initiatives run by the community. So it's like organic growth.
So would you consider the CPS a DAO, or do you think it's something else?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and um, in a way, yeah, it is because the P reps that are voting to approve or deny these proposals are essentially like the treasury is like a multi-sig, and each of these P reps have like a key to the multi-sig. So if they approve um, like this proposal, they're essentially like signing the multi-sig to release these funds. So it, similar to multi-sig, like if two-thirds of people vote to approve, then like funding will be released and whatnot. So it does become a DAO that way, where it like the decisions are in the hands of the community rather than like a central entity like the Icon Foundation.
And what do you have to do to become a P rep?
Yeah, so it's like similar to just like running a node in general. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know the exact steps of becoming a P rep, but in general, it, to be a participating P rep in the CPS. So we have, I think, like 100 something P reps that are running nodes on the Icon network, or that are just P reps, but there's only 20 participating in the CPS. And obviously we'd like for that number to grow, but it's more of like participating by choice in the CPS. So um, not all P reps have to participate in the CPS to still be like a validator on the Icon network.
Interesting. And maybe you already covered this, but how does the CPS raise money to give out?
Yeah, so right now it's mostly coming from node rewards from the Icon Foundation. So like all validators receive node rewards, and they can use those for whatever central purposes they want. But in terms of being decentralized, like the Icon Foundation obviously doesn't want those rewards and would rather distribute them to the community. So they're actually just distributed right into the CPS treasury. But one thing that I'm very excited about, and kind of going back to like becoming like a sustainable growth engine for Icon, is um, there's a lot of changes coming up now that Icon 2.0 is live. So one main thing about the change in inflation is that 10% of all Icon inflation is actually going to go directly into the CPS. So you could think about that as almost like Icon inflation is directly going towards like bolstering our ecosystem. So there's obviously a lot of like incentive programs going around right now for L1s and whatnot. And this seems like a bit of a more sustainable approach. So like there's always going to be funding. As long as there's Icon inflation, there's always going to be 10% of that going in towards funding the growth of our ecosystem. And then with that, like the other point was, I briefly touched on how ICX can be used to purchase the BTP fees. So the ICX that's actually used to purchase those fees have to go somewhere, and they're actually going into the CPS. So you could think of the CPS as having two different income streams. So it has the Icon inflation, and then it has BTP fees coming into it. And obviously, if our bridging solution is popular and is generating a lot of volume, that will result in a lot of funding coming into the CPS. So, and that's what we talk about with being sustainable is if our bridging solution is popular, our CPS, our decentralized ecosystem fund, will receive more funding, and that can be used to either create new protocols, incentivize existing protocols, incentivize like distribution of wrapped assets with our bridging solution itself. And that will kind of just hopefully become like a flywheel where Icon becomes more attractive to bridge to, which generates more fees, which can be used to reinvest into the ecosystem. So that's kind of like my main focus recently has been like, how can we use the CPS to kind of get this flywheel going? How can we use icon inflation and BTP fees to actually incentivize our application layer or incentivize the use of our bridging solution.
Very cool. Could you tell us a little bit more about what came alongside the Icon 2.0 upgrade?
Yeah, so it's more of like an infrastructure upgrade. So um, I think our original blockchain engine was coded in Python. Um, there's actually a really good article out there, which I can maybe send to you guys to link in the description of the video. But we changed from like Python blockchain engine to Go loop, or it's coded in Go, but we call it Go loop. And essentially, it's just a faster, more efficient blockchain engine. And then we also changed our smart contracts from Python smart contracts to Java, which allows us to introduce the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine. And this removes the need for us to do centralized auditing of Python contracts. So it's a better development experience for Icon developers in general. And then kind of the last thing, which is probably most important, is all the BTP smart contracts and bridging solutions were coded in Java for this upgrade. So with this upgrade, that allows us to actually launch the bridging product that we've been kind of working towards the past couple of years.
It sounds like you overhauled most of your code base. Was that a hard upgrade to get approved? Were there lots of audits that the community was looking for? How did that go?
Yeah, I think this actually, like, this conversation happened way before I even started at Icon. So I want to say that they started overhauling this upgrade maybe a year and a half ago. So I know it's like a super difficult migration process, and it took a long time. But I think the actual process of the data migration and switching over from Icon 1.0 to Icon 2.0 is something that hasn't been done in crypto before. So that's kind of where a lot of the delays came from. Had to make sure that we could, kind of like only one shot at doing it, otherwise you had to restart. So yeah, I'm sure that there was a lot of internal discussions about how to actually make it possible and how to introduce these upgrades. But I would say personally, I wasn't really part of those conversations.
Sure. And do you know by chance if it's like fully backwards compatible? Is there any issues? Did the app creators have to recreate all of their apps for Icon 2.0?
Yeah, so it is backwards compatible. We're running Icon 2.0 right now, and you can still go on Balanced or Own Finance and trade or lend and borrow and stuff. So we do have like Python smart contracts still work on Icon 2.0, but we are trying to move away from that. So we are funding like the ecosystem to do this migration from Python contracts to Java contracts, and kind of for the reasoning that we talked about before, just where it takes a lot of like internal centralized resources to do the audits of these contracts to make sure that it's not affecting the blockchain at all. So once everyone gets over to Java, then that reduces the need for those types of audits to occur, and we can probably, I would assume that we'd be able to have development going a lot faster instead of waiting for these upgrades to go through.
Do you know why that is? That the Java contracts are, less risky and need less auditing?
Yeah, it has something to do with, I think, like finality, or I'm not like the most technical person in the world, so I don't have like the exact answer for that. But it is in that article that I'll give you. But it has something to do with making sure like there's not too many like iterations, like there's not like never ending loops where it can cause an issue with block time and stuff like that.
Interesting. Could you tell us a little bit about the ICE and how this will help bring developers into the ecosystem?
Yeah, so ICE blockchain is something that was introduced, I think, around when I started, so about May or June. And it's essentially a sister blockchain for Icon. And the main purpose, I think, for ICE was to bring EVM compatibility into kind of our overall ecosystem. So it'll allow for developers that want to code in Java to be on Icon, and then developers that want to code in Solidity or port over, like hard fork, different Ethereum dApps to bring them right over to ICE. So ICE will obviously be connected through BTP to Icon as well. And ICE benefits ICX holders in a couple ways, but kind of the main way is it's going to be a proof of stake network. So ICE will have its own token, and the ICE token is going to be used for transaction fees, and ICX will still be used for like staking rewards, but staking rewards will be paid out in ICE tokens. So you can think about it similar to kind of like NeoGas, Theta Fuel. It's kind of like a 2-token model where one token is used for governance and staking, and then the other token is used for transaction fees.
Well, I have 2 separate tokens. Why not just use one?
I mean, I think the main reason was just because this is an initiative led by Icon. So like we wanted to find a way to have the sister blockchain still benefit ICX token holders. So you could imagine it as if ICE becomes popular, there'll be more demand for the ICE token. And the only way to get these ICE tokens is through inflation. And that inflation comes to those that are staking ICX. So it kind of puts like more demand on ICX as well. But in general too, that would just be like another connection through BTP that we know we can kind of control and becomes popular and is a way for just like BTP to become more of a successful ecosystem.
Seems
Very
like
cool.
it kind of limits inflation too, right? Because you're not giving out rewards to validators in ICX, would be through ICE.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty interesting because there's gonna probably have to be some people unstaking on the Icon network to bring over their ICX tokens to ICE. So it'll be interesting to see like how many people stay on the Icon network to stake and how many people go over there. So as you can imagine, if a lot of people are unstaking on Icon, that's actually going to increase the staking rewards. So there'll probably be like a happy medium that eventually occurs between the two blockchains. And I don't know if that's going to be like the similar percentage for rewards, or if it's going to be more towards one or the other, but it's going to be like super interesting to see.
TJ, you mentioned Ohm, which is one that I've been hearing a lot about lately. Is that based on the Icon blockchain?
Yeah, so Ohm stands for Open Money Market Finance, and it's the second DeFi protocol launched on Icon. So Scott's the head of Balanced, which was the first, so I think he might have talked about it a bit, but Ohm is like the typical lending and borrowing protocol, similar to like Aave and Compound, where you can lend your assets for a certain percentage of yields, and then in turn you can borrow based on your collateral. So we're essentially just building like the foundation for DeFi in Icon. So we have a DEX, we have like a MakerDAO equivalent. Now we have lending and borrowing. Very soon we have Optimus launching, which is a yield aggregator. And then we also have Equality launching soon, which is similar to like Curve. So we kind of have like the backbones of all DeFi, and we're hoping that kind of allows for more organic growth as well, in terms of like people, whether they want to fork these protocols and improve them, or kind of obviously DeFi 2.0 has been the topic of discussion, but see if like we can create like a liquidity as a service protocol. Like all of these foundational DeFi products allow for those opportunities to happen.
Awesome. TJ, thank you for coming by today and sharing all this information with us. Before you head out, I just want to give you one last chance. If you want to mention anything, give any shout outs, tell the people where to find you. The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'll make sure to give the link to that Icon 2.0 upgrade explanation for people that want to read a bit more about it. And then I would say just in general, like shout out to our community. We have a great community at Icon. Been very patient with these huge upgrades going on, but I think the future is bright, and I'm super excited to continue to work on Icon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you guys. See you.
All right, Ryan, what'd you think about that interview?
Really cool. I like how we did that second part with this upgrade. I think there are big things coming for Icon.
Yeah, it was very cool to see the huge amount of progress that they've made in such a short time. It seems like it's been building for quite a few years now, and it's cool to see it all come together. The successful launch of Icon 2.0 is definitely bullish. But we have a double header on today. Next up, we are talking to Kirk Ferguson, the CEO of UREEQA. So without further ado, Kirk, welcome. How you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well,
good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we just talked with you a little bit yesterday, but we're excited to have you on Moon or Bust now to share all this exciting news and technology with the Moon or Bust audience. So if you could just maybe start off with a little bit of background about yourself
Sure.
and also UREEQA.
Sure. So I joined UREEQA a couple of months ago, was brought in to be the CEO, basically to take over for the founder who is going to focus mostly on strategy and longer term stuff for us as a company. And he needed somebody to come in and manage the day-to-day business. My background is in software marketing and sales and business development. And so I've been working in blockchain companies and now a crypto company for, I guess I've been doing software for about 20 years. And this was a nice opportunity for me to come into something. I have a background in financial services and financial services software. So this was a nice opportunity to come into something that's still grounded in some pretty pragmatic and practical things like intellectual property protection, but at the same time, crypto and taking the blockchain to a new level to really help creators, artists protect, manage, and monetize the things they create, which I think is a really laudable mission for the company, and it's a big part of the reason why I joined.
Awesome. So what exactly is UREEQA? Is it an independent blockchain? Is it an application? Could you tell us a little bit about what your goal is?
Sure. So we're running an Ethereum based blockchain. We also have a crypto token, UREEQA is the symbol, and basically we had this idea that in the creative space, the copyright process in particular isn't working terribly well, especially with the speed with which digital information and content is produced these days. When you look under the covers and you look at what the copyright process looks like in most countries around the world, it's unlike trademarks and patents, it doesn't actually do anything to validate the authenticity or the authorship of a creation. And they just simply give you a certificate, pay your $50 and 3 or 4 months later, you get a certificate of copyright, but it doesn't do anything. And it doesn't certainly prove that you actually created that thing. And if there is a dispute, you ultimately end up in court. And so the process isn't really working, I think, for most people. And when you think about the speed with which digital content, NFTs, and music these days is being produced, we felt there had to be a better way. So we created a platform that is patented, by the way, and the facets of the platform allow us to help people, basically stake their claim on our blockchain to their copyright and basically do it for nothing. And you can do that in a fairly short time frame, a couple of minutes, and you have that proof that you could show another creator or a collaborator, or if somebody wanted to purchase something, you could demonstrate to them quite easily, hey, I've staked this claim. If you want to take it a bit further, you could also have us validate your claim or your copyright, And we go through a fairly thorough process to ultimately generate a package of proof, which you could use again in a copyright court case, or you could use just to help facilitate a sale of an NFT, for example, because you can definitively show you are the creator of something and this is your creation. And so when you think about NFTs that are going to probably go through lots of hands over the course of time, this is a great way to add that layer of security and confidence to somebody that might be interested in buying that. And so we think, those are the sorts of things we started with. We created our own NFT marketplace, and we've been using that as a skunkworks and dropping our own NFTs on that. But ultimately, where we think the future lies for us as a company is, producing a validation process that other marketplaces, copyright organizations, auction houses could all leverage and take advantage of, and use that very well developed and well founded validation process and package of proof as a way of sort of stepping up the validation that they're currently using today.
Do you see this as a frequent issue in the music industry? I know there's tons of legal stuff that goes on with sampling, but the small guys, the independent guys, they don't really have a whole lot of power. So is this kind of what your goal is to fix?
Yeah, you're right, Logan. And if you look at just piracy in the United States, it's about a $12.5 billion hit against the economy every year in the States. The little guy is the guy that gets hit the hardest, unfortunately. And so we do have a protector program that's designed to help work with either individuals or work with companies that represent large chunks of songs and music. And we can proactively look for infractions and infringements of that copyright and advise the people proactively that they've had an infringement occur. We can act on their behalf and approach the people. We can issue a cease and desist letter on their behalf, basically help them try to get paid. Today we announced, in fact, something along the lines as well to help artists get paid and compensated in a more, efficient manner. We've struck a deal with Cobalt Music to basically leverage their back-end platform to serve as the basis for us entering into a music publishing administration business or service that will work to proactively sort of look for royalty payments that are due to artists that are our clients. And we'll be using that infrastructure to go out there, grab those payments, bring those monies back in, and then basically distribute those to the artists on a timely manner. So when you kind of look under the covers, what we're really all about is helping artists, again, manage and protect their intellectual property. But of course, getting paid is super important as well. And so that's a big part of what we just announced today.
So Kirk, you mentioned artists, but what other kinds of creators is UREEQA for, and what types of benefits do you provide for your clients?
Yeah, good question, Ryan. So when you think about creators, we think about everybody that creates anything that could be considered, an artistic creation. So music is certainly a focal point. Digital and visual art, plays, dances, anything that can be captured in the digital space. We basically are positioned to help those creators protect their intellectual property and, as I said, monetize it. The step today that we announced is specifically for songwriters and composers, but the aspects of our platform that work to protect intellectual property work across all of those areas. We certainly have expertise in issuing NFTs and providing validation for NFTs. So again, what is an NFT? It can pretty much be anything and everything you can imagine. And so we've been working really hard to make sure that all of that is protected as artists start exploring NFTs as an alternative source or maybe a complementary source of revenue.
And what made you shift into the music publishing administration industry?
Yeah, it was more of an opportunity, I'd say, than anything. I mean, ultimately, it was a really great way for us to help, be consistent with our mission to monetize, help artists monetize their creations. It's kind of that in a nutshell. But we feel that combined with our ability to protect the creations that people are producing is core to who we are. We took it a step further though, because there's other layers of what we're doing that I think add benefit to songwriters and composers. So for example, we may selectively invest actually directly into specific composers and songwriters or their creations. And in doing that, we're kind of working like almost like an emerging artist launch pad. We can give them a bit of money, help them get ahead or pay some bills. They don't have to sell the farm to work with us. I mean, maybe all they want to do is control 90% of their royalties, and they'll be willing to give up 10% to get that leg up. And that's kind of where I think we add a lot of value. Then if they were to take compensation from us, they can certainly cash or tokens. If they were to take tokens, they can participate in our staking pools. And our staking pools, the most recent ones we just sort of implemented, had double-digit returns. Over 2 or 3 months, you can get 18 to 20% more tokens back. And so if you combine that with an increase in token value, you get a nice opportunity to build a nest egg, which I just don't think financial services companies and record labels are clearly offering today. And then, of course, we give them exposure to our cryptocurrency token holders, which is a fairly good-sized group of folks around the world. And that's publicity counts when you're a songwriter everywhere and every place you can get it. And so we're looking creatively for other ways to add value there. Songwriter camps, something you're going to see us announce in the coming months. So we can put emerging artists with established artists. They can work together and collaborate and create really interesting projects as a result of that. So it's kind of got lots of layers, and we think songwriters is the first step down this path. We're certainly open to looking at other artistic forms, whether it's video or graphic design. This just was a good opportunity for us to pragmatically help songwriters and composers monetize their creations and do so much more with them at the same time.
Very cool. And what made you choose a mutable blockchain to host these services? And is your token on a mutable blockchain and the NFTs, or just one of those?
So it's all on mutable blockchain, yes. And basically, we think Ethereum in particular is kind of the stable thing that we all feel will be around for the long term. We are looking at alternative options, if you want to call them that. So other marketplaces, other exchanges, other chains. Multi-chain is definitely something we're looking at very closely right now and looking to implement and announce over the coming weeks some progress in that regard. But we think the decision to move down the Ethereum pathway sort of gives us that stability and that long-term kind of perspective, because we aren't building something for the coming weeks and months. We're building something for the long term, and we think that's the best strategy to take.
Makes sense.
Awesome. So as an artist, the benefits are very clear. But Kirk, I'm curious to know, are you taking a loss, investing in these artists? Are you are you making money by doing it, or are you counting on them to blow up in the future?
Well, the guy that we've got heading up our music publishing and min division, Scott McCracken. Scott is a 30-year industry vet. He's got a great eye for talent. He's been involved with some big names. I think when I first met him, he'd mentioned he'd had a hand in helping put between 300 and 400 million albums into the marketplace. And I think that's a big number to me. I'm not a music guy, but I think that's a big number. And he's worked with Fugees and 98 Degrees and some big names. So he clearly has an eye for talent. And if you look at these artists and you think, well, you're investing a little bit to help them kind of make ends meet, or maybe do the next TikTok video or produce the next song. For us, I think it's about trying to identify people who have a bit of a track record. We're not investing in absolute nobodies, people that have never done this before. And I think what we're looking at is their potential to really have a lot of upside. And so I don't think we're investing at a loss. Our idea is that we make investments, and like any investment you make, some things are going to be absolute amazing. Some things are going to be flat, and some things won't work out at all. And I think as long as you've got more of the first category than last category, you should probably, as an aggregate, as a basket, you should be okay. We're also looking to help our token holders look at these investments themselves. They may decide if we avail them the ability to basically make a direct investment in a particular song, for example. That way, there's a utility for the token that goes beyond investing simply in UREEQA, but it also gives them the opportunity. It's kind of fun. Can you imagine being, the person given the opportunity to invest in Drake's first hit, or Bruno Mars or Ariana Grande, without knowing them, and just thinking, what the heck? I'm going to take a couple thousand tokens and I'm going to throw it down here and make a bet. It would be amazing, right? Just imagine that feeling. And so the people we're investing in, they are people that they have a track record. They do have millions of digital downloads already, but they are people that have a lot of upside, and for the most part, they're still managing their career pretty much themselves. So they can use the leg up, and we think we can find those quite easily. There's a lot of talent out there, and a lot of people now are managing their own careers without necessarily tying themselves to a particular record label. So, I'm not joking. We announced at 10 o'clock today, and by I think 1 o'clock, we've already had emails coming in through our website where people are asking us about, can we partner with you, and could you take me on as a music publishing and admin client? So we have to do the due diligence. We have to look at their capabilities, and for the ones we feel are super special and got a lot of upside, we'll actually invest in them and hopefully realize some interesting returns.
That's awesome. As a big music fan myself, I love to discover new artists and tell my friends, hey, I was at this concert when they only had like 100 people there.
Yep.
And I've always been, for years, I've been thinking about if only I could invest in an artist somehow. If an artist had a token, that would be so cool. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're you could IPO a portion of the revenue that this song generates, which I think is super cool. I'm curious to know, is anyone else doing this? What does the space look like?
It's pretty nascent, to be honest with you. I don't think there's very many folks doing this kind of thing. Certainly not a practical sort of aspect of the business like music publishing administration, which is, there are a lot of companies that do that. We're not the first guys to do that. We're certainly probably one of the only startups and probably the only blockchain company doing that today. I would say the combination of that with the IP protection services and the crypto investment capabilities we have, that's a unique combination that no one else is doing. I do think there are other blockchain companies looking at the music space and looking at alternative financing for that. But again, I think you could probably count those on one hand. It's still pretty new. That said, we talk to lots of folks in the music space, and it surprises me that so many people are talking about the potential of blockchain and crypto to really democratize and maybe level the playing field a bit in the music space. As one producer put it to me, the content being produced is unprecedented today. There's more channels and more music, for example, being produced than ever before, but the creators are making less and less every day. And so for us, I think it's really important that, if we can lead the way and show people a different way of advancing their career and investing in themselves and maybe building a bit of a nest egg, then, good, because I think it's high time that, creators in particular, if without the songwriters, there's no music. If there's no music, there's, so many other things disappear from our lives. And I think they're the ones that usually get forgotten in all of this stuff. And it's important that, we go back to that and really help them, make a living, quite frankly.
I think UREEQA is such a great product. And I'm curious to know, have any big record labels reached out to you about an acquisition? Are they trying to copy your tech? Is an acquisition something that you would consider?
Yeah, so I'd say at this point, obviously, we're basically enabling the music publishing admin service to come to fruition by by licensing the platform from Cobalt Music. So we are, in fact, collaborating with or licensing a very well-established MPA platform. But the other labels, we just haven't really brokered very many conversations with too many other ones. We'd love to talk to the music labels about how we could protect the IP for the copyrights they oversee and manage, for sure. Probably, what is today, Wednesday? By Friday, perhaps Monday, we're starting a round of investment discussions. Many of the record labels are on that list. So yes, I would absolutely love to talk to folks in that space about how we could help them protect the intellectual property of the artists they're working with. We're open to investment directly. We're open to acquisition directly if the price is right. But I think we have a lot of work to do to really prove out what we've built. I mean, this past year has gone by very quickly. We issued our tokens in April. We've got a platform that's patented, that's actually up and running. We've got 1,000 creators on our platform in less than 3 months. And we're actually producing NFTs and we're minting NFTs and we're doing all the work now. And so really the next chapter for us is about making what we've built available to other NFT platforms and marketplaces. Copyright organizations could license our software and use it for themselves, and start decentralizing the smart stuff we've done and letting other people kind of benefit from it.
Very cool. So could you tell me a little bit more about what Cobalt is, and for anyone who's not in the music industry?
Sure. I won't talk about all of Cobalt, to be honest with you. There's lots of facets of the company that I'm not terribly familiar with, but I can tell you what we're looking to leverage and license from them. So basically, when you're a musician or a songwriter or composer or a producer, you've got these copyrights that you get paid royalties for when a song appears on a digital music platform or played on a radio station or appears in a movie. There's all kinds of places where you can get royalties from. The hard part is figuring out where all those buckets of royalties exist around the world, and then to have the machinery that hooks into those buckets and basically gives you back the amount of money that you deserve as an artist. So creators are generally left with a decision, and most people that make enough money in this space do this. They hire somebody to act as their agent to go collect those royalties on their behalf. And that's the platform that Cobalt has built. It does that very well. It's very innovative. They were the first guys to sort of have a portal and an app and really great utility so that you as an artist could see, where am I at and how much money am I owed and when am I going to get it and that kind of stuff. So when we looked at trying to do this, we thought, well, the best thing we could probably do is license the best platform out there to serve to underpin what we're going to be offering as a service. So in effect, that's what we're licensing, and it's going to enable us to do that same kind of service for the clients that sign up with us. But of course, we can bolt on all those other value-added services we just talked about.
Very, very cool. So Kirk, could you tell us what's next?
Sure. So announcing the service is sort of step one. It's taken us a while to get to that point. Now we're inking deals, signing clients up, and we already have about 20 in the hopper ready to announce. And I can tell you the first one we've signed is already a top 30 song stylist here in Canada. They're already in the radio charts in the top 30, which is fabulous. The song that we invested in is rising up the charts as we speak, and it's been great, great experience. It's exactly what we hoped for the first song we'd invest in. So we want to grow that footprint, grow the number of copyrights we're managing and the royalties that we're collecting, obviously on behalf of clients. We want to put on those song camps, those songwriting camps that I talked about. So starting in January, I think we're going to have songwriting camps in Nashville, Los Angeles, New York, and Singapore, and perhaps Toronto, where we're based just outside of Toronto. So probably about 5 songwriting camps, different genres, different sort of themes. But again, the concept is to help songwriters with less experience work with songwriters with more experience and produce some really interesting new content. And then, of course, as the songwriter camp, sort of evolves, we'll have ownership of some of the royalties associated with those outputs. So that's interesting. And then the rest of the business is really, like I said, trying to pivot and take all the good validation and intellectual property processes and work in the patent platform we've built and offer that as validation as a platform to other NFT marketplaces, record labels, internet service providers. All of those people could benefit from the components that we built. They could just integrate that into their services rather than creating this all from scratch themselves. So we think that's the next logical step for us as a company as well.
Very cool. Kirk, we have a few minutes left. Could you tell us a little bit about the token and where you could find access to it?
Yeah, so the token is available on Bittrex Global, and we just are standing up a new, so here's breaking news for you guys. We're standing up a new instance over at Binance as well, I think today or tomorrow. So people will be able to buy it there as well. And then, of course, Avalanche, Polygon, they'll all be coming in the next couple of days as well. So people will be able to buy our tokens anywhere they, probably feel like there's a lot of coverage in that regard. We're certainly looking for new exchanges. We understand and appreciate that choice is important. Our token holders have told us on numerous occasions they'd like to see us expand our footprint to other exchanges. So we're equally pursuing that. We've applied to most of the big exchanges you can imagine, and it just takes time. The chicken and egg on this stuff is if we hit a certain volume every day, they'd gladly welcome us into somewhere like Coinbase. But if they put us in Coinbase, we'd be clearly hitting it out of the park every day too. So, still working that dynamic. And for us, it's about enabling choice right now and expanding our footprint and giving people different ways to purchase the tokens and to obviously exchange the tokens where they see fit.
Kirk, where can people go to join the community and stay up to date with the project?
Sure. So probably the best spot to go is our Telegram group. If you Google UREEQA at Telegram, you can find us. There's an official channel. There's an unofficial channel. And so if folks want to go to the most vibrant spot where our crypto community is based, that's where I would recommend they start. Of course, we're also on Discord and Twitter, so you can find us in all of those channels without any issue. UREEQA is spelled UREEQA, and so if you type that into any of those social media channels, you'll find us quite easily.
Awesome, and I will have it linked in the description as well for everyone to go check out.
Thanks, Logan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So couple seconds left, about to wrap up, but is there anything else you want to mention? Any shout outs you want to give?
Well, I can't tell you, I was asked today by one of the Telegram community members, is this a big deal? And the reality is Cobalt doesn't sign deals like this every day. And they certainly don't sign deals like this with startups and blockchain startups to boot. So it is a big deal. If you don't work in the music industry, it's probably hard to really understand how big a deal that is. But the fellow that's leading our practice, Scott McCracken, can't say enough good things about him. He's a fabulous individual. He's got a lot of integrity. And I think that's a big reason why Cobalt was so interested in working with us, because Scott just carries such gravitas and a great reputation. And I think we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his leadership in this respect. So anybody that, an emerging artist, emerging songwriter, composer, that's looking for a straight shooter, a guy that really, and I think in the music business, quite frankly, this is pretty rare, but he's a really great guy. I'd encourage you to reach out through our website. You go to the UREEQA website, you look into the MPA tab. There's a Tell Us More About You button there. Click that, fill that out, and Scott and/or his partner Matt will reach out, and hopefully we can start something magical happening and get those artists launched sooner and faster than they could have done on their own.
That's awesome, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all that awesome info. Very, very valuable, I have a feeling.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time, gentlemen.
Thanks, Kirk.
Take care.
All right, that has been Moon or Bust today. Back-to-back bangers. Quiet over there, Ryan.
Yeah, I know. Siri just went off again on my laptop. I was making her shut up.
Yeah, well, that's all we have for you today. thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Check out the Benzinga Crypto separate channel and smash the like button. We put a good amount of work into this interview, so it helps a lot. All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you next time.
Peace out.